Picture yourself going through this grocery store. You're trying to find some basic ingredients for something, let's say a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And so you grab some Skippy low-fat peanut butter. It's got to be healthy, right? It's reduced fat. Or maybe some jam and some Wonder Bread, a classic American staple. So you go home and you assemble this culinary masterpiece of a sandwich. And then you start getting a stomach ache, maybe a headache. You just don't feel good. So you start asking why. All I had was a peanut butter and jelly sandwich I made at home. I mean, I didn't even buy this from a store. It's got to be healthy, right? So you start going through the nutrition facts and you start going through the ingredients and you start reading what is hydrolyzed corn? What is monosodium glutamate? So you start Googling this, right? Because naturally any of us would start Googling this. I mean, we don't know. We're not food scientists. And you discover that these are dangerous additives. So you start freaking out. You're like, oh my God, am I going to die? Well, relax. You're not going to die. As long as you follow the steps in my presentation, the dangers of food additives. Now, what are food additives? Well, food additives are essentially substances added to food while it's being processed. Now, this only pertains to processed foods. Nothing natural, no natural foods, no produce, nothing like that. Solely processed foods. Now, why are they added to food? Well, they're usually added to cut costs, enhance taste, preserve flavor, enhance appearance, add texture, prevent the growth of mold, stuff like that. Now, are they dangerous? Well, the short answer is it depends. Some preservatives are naturally derived from plants or mushrooms, seaweed, things like that. And so they're naturally safe for humans, right? Now, other chemicals are invented in a lab by a food scientist and are usually the ones that you want to be cautious, right? Those are the ones that are dangerous. Now you might be asking, well, dangerous? Wait a second. How can we have dangerous additives? The government would just ban those, right? Haven't they banned those? Well, the short answer is yes, but also no. It's kind of confusing, and I'll explain why. Now, in the US and Canada, not many additives have been banned. Well, at least nowadays. Back then, they banned a bunch of horrible, horrible things that are even worse than things that are around today. But there's still some pretty bad additives. Now, in Europe, they've banned a lot of these bad additives, right? Artificial food dyes, for example, these can cause cancer, RBSTs. These are hormones injected in cows in the US to produce more milk. Titanium oxide, things like that. In Australia, potassium bromate, ammonium phosphate, which is actually used in fertilizer. I don't want fertilizer in my food. I want food. Red dye 3, which can cause diabetes, cancer, things like that. Why aren't these banned in the US? Well, it's simple. The US has a governing body called the Food and Drug Administration, also known as the FDA. You might have heard about them. Now, the FDA, their approach to food additives is this. Until you can prove it's dangerous, it's considered safe. Now, in the court system, the wheels of justice turn slowly, as they say. Well, same thing when it comes to trying to ban additives. I'm sure the FDA is trying to ban a lot of these. In fact, I know they are. But it takes a while. Now, in Europe, they've already banned these because you have to prove that the food is safe before you're allowed to put it in your food. The additive, I'm sorry. You have to prove that the additive is safe before you put it in your food, which makes a lot more sense, right? It's kind of like being guilty before proving innocent, whereas in the US, it's innocent before proving guilty. Obviously, that's great for the justice system, but not for food. I don't want these horrible things in my food. Now, why should you be concerned? Well, some additives can actually cause increased risks of a lot of diseases. Diseases such as obesity, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, cancer, mental health issues, even increased risk of heart attacks, birth defects, a lot of things like that. And these are all horrible sounding things. I don't wish any of these things on my worst enemy. Now, the population of the United States is 233 million people. There are 38 million diabetic people in the United States, and 41.9% of the people in the United States, or at least adults in the United States, are considered to be obese. And that's a major problem. Now, there's different categories of obesity, 1, 2, and 3. But obese, not overweight, obese. That's bad. Now, a lot of these additives cause obesity and diabetes. Now, how do I avoid these dangerous additives? Well, use common sense for one. If you're going to go buy a Coke or drink a Coke or a Pepsi or a soda, don't drink, multiple a day. Don't drink them every day. Have some moderation. It's common sense that, Coca-Cola is unhealthy, so drink less of them. Avoid catchy labels. Things like fat-free, diet, believe it or not, or zero sugar. Believe it or not, these things are actually way worse than their counterparts. Now, they may contain less sugar. You may go through it says 0 grams of sugar. Why is it not as healthy? Well, it's because they have to put additives to substitute those things. Number 3 would be to choose natural products. Choose things that are organic or natural if possible. I know that there's the 2 main stereotypes floating around, that a lot of these products are, more expensive or they don't taste as good. Although this may be true sometimes, it is still much better to choose natural products. Obviously, it's not always the case, and sometimes you want to get some healthy stuff, and that's okay, just in moderation. Number 4 would be use apps or websites designed specifically to help you choose healthier products. Common sense. Use Google or use an app, which I'll mention later, that is really effective in choosing healthy products. Now, if only there was an app. Well, I just mentioned there is an app. Now, obviously, you don't want to spend 3 hours in the grocery store trying to figure out what's healthy and what's not on Google, right? So you just want to go in there, buy your food, and get out. Well, this app makes it really easy. Now, it's kind of ironic that my font matches their logo. Obviously, it wasn't paid to mention them or anything. But how does Yuka, the app that I just mentioned, work? Well, first you find a product. You take your phone. You scan the product's barcode. And then you can view the results on your phone. So I'm going to give an example. Say, I don't know, Skippy peanut butter, look familiar? Or how about some strawberry preserves or Wonder Bread? Now, I picked all these products for a reason, and you'll see why. Skippy peanut butter, looks healthy, right? Wrong. Full of additives, calories, saturated fat, sodium. Obviously, we care about the additives in this case, so you can click on the additives section. And by the way, this is all the things that pop up when you scan the product's barcode. You can read each individual additive, and as you can see, this one causes increased risk of cardiovascular disease and cancer, and it's bad for your autoimmune system. It's just horrible, really. And it also will give you recommendations for other products to purchase as opposed to the additive-rich Skippy peanut butter in this case. So it's very useful. Obviously, all these products I chose are terrible for you. Skippy peanut butter, the Great Value jam, and the Wonder Bread, all terrible, all full of preservatives. So that makes our culinary masterpiece not so masterpiecey. It's just not good, really. I mean, you don't want to eat that. It's full of cancer-causing chemicals and stuff. So we've identified the problem, which is additives. Additives can be very dangerous. If not properly avoided, they can be life-threatening. The solution, stay vigilant, use common sense, use apps like Yuka or use Google to help you make better decisions. So thank you very much for listening to my presentation and have a great day. And here are the references.